Hi, this is Lude, once again here for Sentinels of the Multiverse Weekly One-Shot number 30. Last week's was 29. In my video I said 29, then I uploaded it to YouTube, and for some reason I thought it was 28, because I overlooked number 28 when I was making the video title, so I freaked out because I went all big about how this was number 29 or something. But it's definitely, last week's was definitely 29, at least from what I could tell, unless my counting on YouTube is wrong or something, which makes this week's 30. But without further ado, let's just go into this. Weekly one-shot number 30, Mars attacks. Visit Mars, they said. It'll be fun, they said. Nobody mentioned anything about a giant artificially intelligent extermination machine. Haka seems to enjoy it, though. So this is Advanced Omnitron, with Haka, Absolute Zero, Bunker, Redeemer Fanatic, and the Wraith in Wagner Mars base. And this is actually not the first time that we've fought Omnitron in the Wagner Mars base. It seems, I believe there was an earlier one that did this. Actually, Wagner Mars base seems to be a common thing. Yeah, the Terrible Secret of Space was also on Wagner Mars base. This one was not advanced, though. Whereas this one is. So we're going to try for Mint. We're going to see how it goes. And again, I think I've changed my card display settings, so I'm going to have to reset them once the game starts. But let's just start. No undos, Mint attempt, let's go. Offensive programming online, destroy humans. Haha! Battle! This will be fun! Ha, it's like the lines on the dialogue. So let's double check our settings. Card display will be short, or long rather, maximum long. I tend to keep my message display short because it tends to mess with damage animations if I make it any shorter. Haka starts with an elbow smash, an enduring intercession, a Haka of shielding, and a Taiaha. So the brief description of these: this is a damage dealer one-shot. This is an ongoing that redirects any damage dealt to a hero target by an environment card to Haka. One-shot that draws 2, then discards any number, and this reduces the next damage to Haka based on the number of cards discarded, as well as equipment that provides for a more damage-dealing power. Absolute Zero has 2 cryo chambers, which increases cold damage dealt to him, reduces fire damage dealt to him, but provides with a power to deal himself a bunch of fire damage to destroy this card. He has 2 of those. He has a focused aperture that increases cold damage dealt by Absolute Zero by 1. And he has a modular realignment to select an equipment from his trash and then put it either into play or your hand, and then Absolute Zero deals himself 1 fire and 1 cold. Unfortunately, he lacks modules, which means he won't be able to translate damage to Omnitron or his bots, or minions, or what are they actually called in this deck? Devices. We won't be able to hit Omnitron's devices. Bunker starts with 2 heavy platings to reduce damage dealt to Bunker, and 2 maintenance units to regain HP. Redeemer Fanatic has an Absolution that provides a damage-dealing power, as well as she regains HP. A Divine Sacrifice to deal irreducible damage to 3 targets, but damage dealt by those targets ends up being redirected to Fanatic. An Emboldened to provide hero with an additional power on their power phase as long as they take damage at the end of their turn, or at the very least on 1 turn they can have an additional power if they don't want to take that damage. And a Sanctifying Strike to deal 1 melee damage, draw a card, and then regain 1 HP. And the Wraith has a combat stance, so the first time she's dealt damage each turn she can deal the source of that damage to melee. Smoke Bombs to redirect damage dealt from the lowest HP to the highest HP, a Suture Self to regain HP, and a Throat Jab to hit something and then stop that target from dealing damage until the start of her next turn. So, with the exception of Haka and Fanatic, we don't really have much in the way of doing damage just yet. I mean, we have Throat Jab, and we have a combat stance that will be only reactionary damage, but Absolute Zero can only hit himself, and Bunker can only tank or regain HP. So Omnitron is one. So this entire setup is actually a base game setup. So no expansions are necessary to play this game. You can play it with the base game if you even haven't bought Season Pass 1 yet. But Omnitron is one of the original villains, and he's one of the 2 difficulty 1 villains, although I disagree with that difficulty rating a lot. But his setup, he simply enters play. He doesn't put any cards into play at the start of the game. At the start of each villain turn, he flips. So he's on this side to start with, but he flips immediately. And on this side, he plays the card on his play phase, and at the end of the villain turn, the top card of the villain deck gets played. So he plays 2 cards on this side. And since we're playing advanced, reduce damage dealt to devices by 1. So this will be make it even more difficult to be able to hit Omnitron on the side. But he flips every turn. So on the start of the second turn, he'll flip to this side, and instead, so he'll still play a card on his play phase. But at the end of the villain turn, instead of playing an additional card from the top of his deck, he instead searches his trash, or rather shuffles his trash, and reveals cards from the top until a drone or component is revealed and puts it into play. So he recycles drones or components on this side. And the advanced rule says increase damage dealt by devices by 1. So it'll be much easier to hit Omnitron and his devices on this side, but they will also hit harder. So one of the things that I tend to do on advanced is on his rampaging robot side, I don't really try to worry about dealing damage unless it's via a power. Like, I'm not going to play a one-shot that deals damage because it'll be less effective. And furthermore, you know, if we just successfully destroy a device or drone or component rather, it sort of doesn't really matter because he'll shuffle it and put it back into play on this side. Now, component, his components act at the start of his turn, so if we do destroy the component, it at least won't act immediately. But the devices do act at the end of the turn, with the sole exception of the Electropulse explosive. But it's not the device that I should be talking about, but it's the drones, because he will shuffle to get a drone or component, and he has 3 different drones, and they all act at the end of the villain turn. So without further ado, I think I already said that, but let's get started. At the start of the game, he flips immediately. His play is the S-83 Assault Drone. At the end of the villain turn, this card deals the hero target with the highest HP X melee damage, where X is the number of drones in play plus 1. This and one other drone acts based on the number of drones in play. There's 1 drone right now, plus 1 is 2, so that's going to hit the highest HP for 2 melee damage, unless he plays another, since he's rampaging. And he plays the Sedative Flechettes. So this is one of the cards I hate. Omnitron deals each hero target 6 projectile damage, and as if that isn't bad enough, destroy all hero ongoing cards. Fortunately, he played this at the start of the game, so we don't have any ongoing cards in play, but we're all taking 6 damage. So the order here does not matter since nothing is in play yet. And the Assault Drone goes against Haka since he's the highest HP. And here we are. So Omnitron has 2 Sedative Flechettes in his deck. So, right, because there it is, there's the other one. He only has 1 other one in his deck. He also has a different one-shot that says destroy all equipment cards. So these 2 cards together will destroy everything that we could put into play, because the only cards that these heroes have are either one-shots, equipments, or ongoings. And if he plays this one, it destroys all the equipments, but his damage is based on the number of equipments that hero had in play. So sometimes it's better not to play equipments, because if Omnitron destroys them, then you'll take more damage. So like playing Taiaha might not be a good thing to do until we've seen all of the equipment things come out. Remember that, as I said before, Omnitron's going to flip, and on his flip side, he shuffles the villain trash and reveals cards from the top until 1 drone or component is revealed and it's put into play. So even if we destroy the S-83 Assault Drone this turn, he's going to pull it back into play on his next turn. So there's no real point in taking it out. We could reduce it to 1 HP, just to make it easier to take out on the next turn. So I could play Taiaha to hit Omnitron and the Assault Drone, as long as I don't take it out. I would rather save Elbow Smash for the flip side, since it will do 1 more point of damage. And during Intercession, I don't think I've honestly ever played this card, so... Because redirecting all damage that would be dealt to a hero target to Haka would only be useful if Haka has some amount of damage resistance, at least, which he currently does not have. And Haka of Shielding would help with, reducing damage. So the two choices really right now are Haka of Shielding and Taiaha. And Taiaha has a risk of being destroyed, but Haka of Shielding will just burn the next point of damage. I mean, it will actually be fine because the S-83 Assault Drone is currently going to attack Haka, and it's currently dealing 2 melee damage, but on the flip side, Omnitron will increase damage dealt by devices, so it will be 3. So I could do Haka of Shielding, and I could discard the Enduring Intercession, and that way the next damage Haka takes will be reduced by 2. That way, if the Taiaha, if he plays the Technological Singularity that would destroy Taiaha, at least it will still be in my hand. So we'll do that. Haka of Shielding, we draw a second Taiaha, so I could have played Taiaha safely without having lost it, and we get to punish the weak. A lot of people don't like this card because it reduces damage to anything that's not the non-hero target with the lowest HP, but I like this card for several reasons. One being that this does increase damage to the non-hero target with the lowest HP, so it makes it easier for Haka to destroy them. And it also reduces damage to hero targets by 1 because they are not non-hero targets. And so, if Haka were to play Rampage, it would do 1 fewer point of damage to hero targets. So I'm going to discard Enduring Intercession, since I don't have a Taomoko yet. And I want to keep both of my Taiahas in case I lose one to a Technological Singularity. So we'll stop. And the next damage that would be dealt to Haka is now reduced by 2. And now I can do a single point of damage via my power, so I might as well do it. And I might as well do it on Omnitron, I think, because again, the S-83 Assault Drone, I could try to put 1 point of damage on it, but I feel like we should just focus on the main villain. So we'll do that. And we draw the Rampage that I talked about. So Rampage, Haka deals each non-hero target 5 melee damage and each hero target 2 melee damage. So this will actually be able to, this will enable us to destroy all of Omnitron's drones. Because they don't have more than 5 HP. The Assault Drone here has 4. And the Repair Drone has 4. And the S-84 Automaton Drone has 5. So we'll be able to wipe out the drones. The only card that we really have to worry about is the Electropulse Explosive. And this hasn't come into play yet, but when it does, we have 1 round to deal with it, otherwise it will deal each hero target X lightning damage, where X is the current HP of this card, which its max HP is 15. But I'm getting too far ahead of myself. So, absolute 0 here. Again, we lack a module. And equipments that get played could be destroyed by a Technological Singularity. It also could be destroyed by the Pervasive Red Dust. The Pervasive Red Dust says at the end of the environment turn, destroy 5 equipment cards. We won't get hit by this destruction, but it will destroy 5. But at the start of the environment turn, we can destroy this card by having each player discard a card. And when this card is destroyed, which is independent of the previous clause, if we can destroy it out of turn, when this card is destroyed, each player may put 1 equipment card from their trash into play. So in fact, the action, if each player discards 1 card, destroy this card, could in fact, if each hero discards an equipment card, we could then put that equipment card into play for free. So that's one thing to bear in mind. So I don't really want to play an equipment because it could get destroyed, and it also won't benefit Absolute 0 this turn. I could play an equipment in hopes of drawing a module or a means of getting a module with his next card draw, but I think it's better to skip and draw 2. So if you've never played Sentinels before, your order of actions is to play a card, use a power, and draw a card. But if you play no card nor use no power, that doesn't sound right. If you neither use a card nor, if you neither play a card nor use a power, there we go. Neither nor is the better construction. If you neither play a card nor use a power, you can draw an additional card in your draw phase. So if you have nothing that you can do on your turn, you might as well do nothing and get another card. Get another card, English. So we'll skip, and we'll draw 2 cards. And we draw a second Focused Apertures, so if we had played 1, we still wouldn't have been able to use it next turn. And we draw an isothermic transducer. So there's our module. Isothermic transducer is one of two modules. This one says whenever Absolute Zero is dealt fire damage, Absolute Zero deals one target that much cold damage. So I don't think I actually looked at Absolute Zero's power. If you're wondering why I didn't just use his power is to deal himself one fire damage or one cold damage. So he hits himself, which isn't necessarily good if you can't do anything with it, but his modules enable him to do things with it. Alright, now with Bunker. Bunker is, for a lot of people, their least favorite hero, because he seems to not really be able to do anything until you can get him properly set up. For instance, here, he only has 2 heavy platings and 2 maintenance units, so you can either reduce damage dealt to Bunker by 1, or you can have Bunker regain 2 HP. But a lot of people overlook his base power, which says draw a card, and it seems like a boring power relative to a lot of other powers out there. But this power enables you to play a card on your play phase, and use this power to draw a card, and then on your draw phase you draw a card. So you draw 2 cards this round. And I just said about Absolute Zero, it's better for him to skip the play and power to draw 2 cards. But with Bunker, I could put the heavy plating out, and use his base power to draw a card, and that way I'll have played a card, but I'll still draw 2 cards this turn. Alternatively, I could put Maintenance Unit out and use it to regain 2 HP and draw only 1 card, but I again want to get better cards to play with Bunker, so I'm more likely to use his base power. And Heavy Plating could be destroyed by Technological Singularity, but if it doesn't, it provides damage reduction to Bunker. So I'm going to play Heavy Plating, I'm going to use this power to draw a card, and we draw a Flat Cannon, so that's good because this is a damage-dealing power that people like to see. And we get a Decommissioned Hardware, which is a nice card because it lets us take an equipment from our trash and put it into play. So this is good against Technological Singularity since it allows us to get back an equipment that we had lost. And now to Fanatic. So Fanatic's base power is to regain 1 HP and draw a card. So it's sort of strictly better than Initialize because not only do you draw a card, but you regain 1 HP, but in another sense it's actually worse than Initialize because Fanatic has a single card in her deck called Wrathful Retribution. That's a one-shot, and if you can discard 3 cards, then Fanatic deals 1 target radiant damage equal to the difference between her maximum HP and her current HP. Basically, whatever damage she has taken, she can spit that back out on someone as Wrathful Retribution. Which is why this card is called Wrathful Retribution. So it's not necessarily good for Fanatic to regain HP, but this power does let her regain HP. That being said, I am likely to use this power. So we have a few things to think about here. Absolution we could play, Fanatic would regain 1 HP, and then we could deal 1 target 3 damage, either of melee, fire, or radiant, but with damage reduction, it's not wholly good, and it could be destroyed by all the equipment destruction cards. Divine Sacrifice would redirect damage dealt by targets to Fanatic until the start of her next turn. This damage is irreducible, though, and irreducible damage can be quite potent, especially against things that have great amounts of damage reduction. But I don't think that's necessarily a good play. Embolden, we can play next to a hero. That hero may use an additional power during their power phase, and at the end of that hero's turn, Fanatic may deal them 2 radiant damage. If they take no damage this way, this card gets destroyed, but if they take any amount of damage, even if it's not the full 2, then it's good. And heroes that like this card, like some heroes that like this card are those that get damage reduction or can regain HP or just like having extra powers, and almost any hero loves having extra powers, as long as they're distinct powers. And in fact, all of these heroes will have distinct powers over the course of the game. But this card could be played on Bunker, because with the heavy plating, that 2 radiant turns into 1 radiant, so Bunker would only take 1 damage to be able to use an additional power. So I could have him put out Flat Cannon this turn and use it, or sorry, next turn and use it, and then he could still use Initialize to draw a card. Or he could put Maintenance Unit out, regain 2 HP and then draw the card as a second power, and then when Fanatic deals bunker damage, it gets reduced by 1, but he'll still have regained a total of 1 HP this turn. So that's one thought. Absolute Zero loves to have extra powers eventually. He does have several powers that are good. He doesn't have them yet, though. Haka likes this card if he can have Talmoko. Well, he'll like this card anyway. Like if I put out Taiaha, we could do Taiaha as well as Crush. And Wraith likes this card when she has lots of powers, because she gets a lot of powers, and she can also she also has her own card that increases the number of powers she can use. But anyway, Embolden is a good card to play. Not necessarily right now, but it is a good card to use. Sanctifying Strike. This will deal 1 target 1 melee damage, but with damage reduction it's going to do 0, but she can draw a card and she can regain 1 HP. So it's basically going to be another instance of her base power. So the question is, what do we intend on doing? I think getting Bunker to use extra powers could be useful, especially if we can use it with Maintenance Unit, because he'll still be profiting HP over the course of the game. He does have Turret Mode, which would enable him to use extra powers, but he could not play or draw cards that way. So I think I'm going to do that on Bunker. And now we use her base power. She regains 1, and she draws a card. That card is the Aegis of Resurrection. That says, when Fanatic drops to 0 or fewer HP, restore Fanatic to 10 HP, and then destroy this card. So this could be destroyed since it is an equipment, but if it is in play when Fanatic would otherwise be incapacitated, well, not really, she could be destroyed by other means, but in this game actually I don't think there is one, she gets restored to 10 HP instead, so she revives, or resurrects if you will. And she also draws a Divine Focus. This is an ongoing that says, the start of every turn, you may discard a card. If you do, Fanatic deals the villain target with the highest HP 2 radiant damage. So a lot of instances of damage as long as you sacrifice cards. At the start of her turn, she has to deal herself 4 fire damage to keep this card in play. This is not really a card to play at the start of the game unless you absolutely need the damage, since you have to discard cards to use it. But we do have a lot of card draw capability, especially with this variant. And now we're on Wraith's turn. So combat stance, let's see. Combat stance would enable Wraith to deal damage in retaliation, but she has to actually be dealt damage in order to retaliate, which, with her stealth power, the next damage she would be dealt would be reduced by 2. And we're going to be using that unless we wish to skip twice, which we might not necessarily do. Smoke bombs would redirect damage that would be dealt to the hero with the lowest to the hero with the highest, and damage redirected this way is reduced by 1. So this is especially good because this keeps the lowest HP hero at a fine level, redirects it to the highest HP hero, which can more afford to take damage than the lowest, but also reduces that damage by 1. So it's all in all very good. But this only redirects damage from villain cards. Suture Self is to regain 3 HP, which she would regain, but we don't necessarily need to do that. And Throat Jab, this is a good way of stopping a single target from dealing damage. I'm going to save this card for the Electropulse Explosive so that we have more capability of destroying it before it hits anyone. So let's see. So if I skip twice, I'll draw 2 cards. That would help with getting her more set up. Or I could play a bit more defensively, put out Smoke Bombs to redirect from the lowest to the highest, and then reduce the next damage dealt to her by 2. Or I could put out Combat Stance now. Combat Stance would be more likely to survive since there's only 1 instance of Sedative Flechettes left. And it would therefore be a little bit more useful in this game. So I think we'll do Combat Stance. See, I'm trying to avoid putting equipments out, and the only equipment I've put out is the Heavy Plating. It's partly paranoia, but partly because I think that what we've done is more useful than the equipments that we would have otherwise put out. And we'll Stealth to reduce the next damage that would be dealt to the Wraith by 2. We draw a Grappling Hook. This is a card that destroys 1 ongoing or environment card, as well as enables Wraith to draw a card. So if we get a bad environment card, we could use this card to destroy it. Well, let's see. What is the environment doing? Environment plays Villainous weaponry. So, this is another source of increase to villain damage. Increased damage dealt by villain targets by 1. And when Omnitron flips, he's going to do another increased damage dealt by villain, or dealt by devices rather, by 1. So they'll have a +2. So Omnitron flips, he plays the top card of his deck. It's another assault drone. So now there are 2 drones in play, so each one of these are going to start doing 3 melee, +2 from the increases, so it's going to do a total of 5 damage. And there are no drone or components in his trash since we didn't destroy any, so these are both going to act. The question of which target is considered to have the highest HP. This is not really a question because whoever we select here, or whoever we don't select here, is going to be hit by the other one. But we'll select Haka since he did use the Haka of shielding, so this undoes the +2 from the other sources. So this is going to be a total of 3 to Haka, and then the other will be 5 to Fanatic. And now we are back here. So now the goal is to try to take out those drones. Since we're back on his front side, the drones no longer have damage reduction, so we can we can more easily take them out. And not only that, they're not going to come back into play the next round. So it's a bit wiser to take them out this round if we can. So how do we go about doing that? Rampage would take them out easily, but it would hit all of us for 2, except for Wraith. Wraith will reduce it by 2. If I play Taiaha, I could hit both of them for 3, and they'd be down to 1, but I'd have to find a way to hit the remaining for 1. Isothermic Transducer would enable Absolute Zero to hit one of them for 1. Flat Cannon would hit one of them for 3. It would be a waste to have Flat Cannon be used just to hit a drone, though. I'd rather that hit Omnitron, especially if we use Taiaha to hit those. Absolution would be another source of 3 damage. Divine Sacrifice would hit them for 1 and take them out, so I don't have to worry about damage redirection. We do have to worry about the villainous weaponry still, though. Wraith doesn't have a damage dealer other than Throat Jab, which we want to keep, and Grappling Hook we could use to destroy villainous weaponry, but I think villainous weaponry is easy enough to take out just by destroying it. So what can we do? Taiaha can hit 2 of them for 3. Flat Cannon can hit villainous weaponry for 3. And then I could Divine Sacrifice to hit the assault drones for 1 and the villainous weaponry for 1. So villainous weaponry would be down to 1. Is there a way we can do 1 more point of damage? I don't think so. I might just have to live with the +1 on the flip side, because it's possible that Omnitron isn't gonna do, or that the villains aren't actually going to do anything. So we'll do that. If they don't deal damage, then there's no damage to increase, and it might be fine to just have that increase for 1 round. So we'll hit the assault drones. Haka draws another elbow smash. Let's see. So isothermic transducer, and now. Sorry, I went pretty fast. But isothermic transducer. Now, if I have Absolute Zero be dealt fire damage, Absolute Zero can then deal one target that much cold. So he used his base power, thermodynamics, to hit himself for fire, and then we can hit the assault drone, or one of the assault drones, and take it out. And we draw a coolant blast. So this is an instance of, this is another power. Absolute Zero deals 1 non-hero target X cold damage, where X is the amount of fire damage that has been dealt to Absolute Zero since the end of your last turn. Some people don't like this card. I tend to point out the cards people don't like, just to point out instances where we could use it. But if he plays a one-shot that deals himself fire damage, then he could use Coolant Blast to spit that fire damage out. And with Isothermic Transducer, when he's dealt fire damage, that gets transmuted anyway, so this acts as a means of doubling up on that fire damage outburst. Alright, so I have to play Flat Cannon in order to do things. So we'll Flat Cannon, and we'll... Actually... since I'm not really going to be able to take out the villainous weaponry this turn, I think I'm just going to take out Omnitron, right? I don't think there's anything in the environment deck that really hits all targets. Oh, this card deals each target 2 fire, so it would be possible to take that out if that comes into play. Yeah, but I think I'm going to focus on Omnitron, because there's a chance that Omnitron won't even try to deal damage, and if that happens, I could just try to take out villainous weaponry next time. So we'll focus on Omnitron while he doesn't have damage reduction. And Embolden, remember, lets me use an additional power in my power phase. So we'll use this to draw a card, might as well, and we draw an ammo drop. This is a great card for Bunker. Whenever a villain card is destroyed, you may draw a card, even if a mode card says you cannot. So this works well with turret mode. We could still draw a card even if turret mode is out. And now on his draw phase, he draws a recharge mode. Unlike turret mode, this one focuses more on card draws. You cannot play cards or use powers, but you may draw an additional card during your draw phase. But since you can't play cards or use powers, that means that you will be skipping your play phase and your power phase, which also means that you can draw an additional card on your draw phase. So if this card is out and you've skipped your play phase and power phase, you get to draw 3 cards on your draw phase. It's not entirely obvious that that's true. But furthermore, reduce damage dealt to Bunker by 1, so this is another means of reducing damage to Bunker. That being said, I don't think I'm likely to play recharge mode, since it would take 1 round in order for the full effects to really come in. And with Embolden, I would like to be able to use powers. So do I want Redeemer Fanatic to deal Bunker 2 radiant damage, since it'll be reduced by 1? Yes. Alright, so I would use Divine Sacrifice, but I don't think I really need to hit the villainous weaponry. I think I probably want to save Divine Sacrifice when I absolutely need irreducible damage. I was thinking about... Actually, I wasn't really thinking of it, but I was entertaining the thought of using Absolution to hit villainous weaponry for 3, but I think we ended up thinking on Divine Sacrifice, and now I think ultimately I'm going to play Sanctifying Strike, because this will still take out the Assault Drone. This says deal 1 target 1 melee damage, which will be the Assault Drone. We draw a card, that card being Smite the Transgressor. Fanatic deals 1 target 2 melee damage. You may use an additional power this turn, so this is like an Embolden on Fanatic for this turn, but instead of herself hitting herself, she hits someone else. She regains 1 from the 1-shot, and now we can use our power to regain 1 HP and draw a card. That card is another Absolution, and now in our draw phase we draw a Brutal Censure to deal 1 target 2 radiant damage and draw a card. Fnatic has a lot of cards that let her draw more cards, which is nice. So again, I could use the Grappling Hook to destroy villainous weaponry if I really wanted to, but there are probably worse cards out there. Like the Self-Destruct sequence, because, well, I'll wait to talk about that if that comes out, but Self-Destruct sequence is a card that we would like to destroy instead of having to skip 5 turns to destroy. Maintenance level might not be a bad one, but we have the option of destroying this by shuffling our trash into our deck, which isn't bad for this hero team. Well, I guess it's sort of bad for Absolute Zero, because his modular realignment wouldn't be as good, and it wouldn't be so good for Bunker because his decommissioned hardware wouldn't be as good, but the other heroes don't care if their trash gets shuffled in. We want to keep the Throat Jab for the Electric Pulse Explosive, so the choice is now between Smoke Bombs and Suture Self. And if I play Suture Self, then Wraith becomes the highest HP hero, which means that if she gets dealt damage, she could then hit that target for 2 melee. On the other hand, we are on... Omnitron will be flipping to his damage reduction side, so this 2 melee damage would only be 1, which wouldn't be so useful, so we might not want to do that. Let's do Smoke Bombs instead this time. And again, Stealth to reduce the next damage that will be dealt to Wraith. So far, she hasn't been dealt damage, right? The only things that did damage were the Assault Drones, so she's now reducing the next damage she would take by 4. And furthermore, if a villain tries to deal her that damage, if it somehow gets through the -4, the Smoke Bombs would redirect it to someone else anyway, so she's unlikely to take damage from a villain next turn. But we draw an Impromptu Invention. Impromptu Invention is one of the Wraith's best cards. Draw a card, and then search your deck for an equipment card, and either put it into play or your hand and shuffle your deck, and then you may play a card. So, ignoring everything else, this lets you play another card. A card that lets you play another card means that whatever effects besides what's on the card are extra, or whatever effects are on the card besides the play card are bonus. You get them for free upon playing the card. And you can play an additional card afterwards. There are a lot of these sorts of cards in Sentinels, and they all work differently. And Wraith's one lets her draw a card, which gives her an option, another option for playing a card. But the stronger thing is to search her deck for an equipment card, because a lot of her deck is composed of equipment cards. And so we'll get the option of choosing whatever equipment we want next turn or a future turn. We may not want to play it right away, but I mean, a lot of people play this instinctively, but if you know an equipment's going to be destroyed immediately, you might not want to use that. But anyway, we'd have the Impromptu Invention. Alright, so Environment's playing another villainous weaponry, so now damage dealt by villain targets is increased by 2 from the environment, and when Omnitron flips, we lose his damage increase. So his card play is the Adaptive Plating subroutine. After Omnitron is dealt damage, Omnitron becomes immune to that type of damage, but whenever Omnitron is dealt a different type of damage, Omnitron's damage immunity changes to that type. This is his only ongoing card that can't be destroyed by him being dealt 7 or more damage in one round. So this is one that we would have to be able to destroy ourselves if we don't want it to be in play. And we do have a card that will let us destroy it. Wraith has it. But let's see. He's playing another card on his end of turn. It's the S-84 Automaton drone. At the end of the villain turn, this card deals the hero target with the highest HP X energy damage, where X is the current HP of this card, and 5 is its maximum HP with 5 heroes. So it's going to do 5 energy damage plus 2, which is 7. And here we have a choice on who should take it, but I think Fanatic's the better choice, since Fanatic prefers to be at lower HP for Wrathful Retribution purposes, and she has more HP recovery methods anyway. Alright. So now 2 villainous weaponry's out, and Omnitron has damage resistance, and when he flips, he's going to put a drone from trash into play. We haven't seen a component yet, so we know it's going to be a drone coming out. So we could take out the Automaton drone, but if it comes back into play that way, then it's going to do 5 damage. If we reduce it to 1, then it's only going to do, well, only going to do 1 damage, plus whatever modifiers are out there. But then this drone that comes out is going to do 2 plus 1, which is 3. So it's actually going to do less damage overall if we try to get this down to just 1. And the easiest way of doing that is to hit it for 3. Actually, no, we can't hit it for 3. It has damage reduction. If I elbow smash and then Haka, that would take it down to 1. If I put out Punish the Weak, Punish the Weak would be a damage increase to one of these, but then the second thing we would hit with Haka would then not be the lowest HP target, so it would be reduced by 1. So it's actually not going to be fully useful to put out Punish the Weak. It'd be better to do that if I would be taking out multiple things via Haka. I could play Punish the Weak to get set up for Rampage next turn. I think I want to save Rampage for the Electropulse Explosive. We do have flat cannons still, but we also still have to think about taking out the villainous weaponries. So I only have so many sources of 3 damage. Wraith will be able to get another source of 3 damage via an Impromptu Invention if we want to. Absolute Zero, if he puts out Focused Apertures, his cold damage being transmuted out will be increased by 1, which will be useful. Let's see. I definitely want to take out the villainous weaponries before the next turn, because Omnitron's already getting a damage boost on his flip side, but getting 2 more damage boosts beyond that is pretty bad. So let's see. Haka could hit the villainous weaponries for 3 each. Absolute Zero what's it called? The focused apertures could hit one of them for 2 and take it out. Flat Cannon can hit the other villainous weaponry, take it down to 0. Absolution can hit the automaton drone for 2, and then Razor Ordnance can hit the automaton drone for 2. He'll be down to 1. I think that's probably the best way of doing that. But I forgot about Elbow Smash. Never forget that you don't actually have to play a card. I did that with Absolute Zero in the first round. I skipped his play and his power, but I could skip the play and still use a power. But it's probably better to just use the play. So let's see. Elbow Smash will be another source of 3. So I think if I use this to hit the automaton drone, and then Taiaha, then I could do something else with Wraith. Maybe. Yeah, let's do that. So the thing about Omnitron is Omnitron games tend to be rather long because he has 100 HP. So this video is going to be rather long. I don't know how long it will be. We've been recording for 40 minutes already, so I should probably try to speed up a little bit, otherwise people will just get bored. So we hit the automaton drone. I'm going to hit him again, and then I will hit one of the villainous weaponries. And then we draw another Punish the Weak. Alright, so Focused Apertures I believe is better. Coolant Blast is not going to work right now because he's been dealt no fire damage. Cryo Chamber would reduce fire damage dealt to Absolute Zero, which is bad with Isothermic Transducer right now because he'll hit himself for 0, so he wouldn't be able to output anything. Modular Realignment would let him hit himself for 1 fire to hit someone for 1 cold, but then he'll hit himself for 1 cold, and we don't get the equipment card from our trash into play, so it's not fully useful. So Focused Apertures is the card to play. And now if I hit myself for 1 fire, I could then hit that 2 villainous weaponry for 2, and we've taken that one out. And we draw Field Freeze. This is ongoing destruction. Destroy up to 3 ongoing cards. Absolute Zero deals each non-hero target X cold damage, where X is the number of ongoing cards destroyed by this card. So you could use this to destroy the Adaptive Plating subroutine as well as hit everything for 1 cold, increased by 1 thanks to Focused Apertures. Alright, so if I put out Ammo Drop, it's going to profit a lot over the course of the game, as long as he keeps it in play. And the only means of ongoing destruction is by Sedative Flechettes. If I put out Maintenance Unit, I could Flat Cannon, and then use Maintenance Unit to regain 2 HP so that Embolden would not keep reducing Bunker's HP. But I think equipments are a little bit more likely to be taken out by Omnitron, as well as the environment. So we'll put out Ammo Drop. And then we'll Flat Cannon. We need to hit the villainous weaponry, so we'll do that. And then we'll initialize to draw a card. We get another Flat Cannon. And now on the draw phase, we draw the turret mode. So I mentioned, I talked about it, I don't think I described the card. Unlike recharge mode, this says you cannot play or draw cards. But you can use an additional power during your power phase. So with Embolden, he can use 3 powers with this card, but furthermore, increase damage dealt by Bunker by 1, so he gets a damage boost. But you just can't play or draw cards. But we'll keep Embolden in play for now, because Bunker still has a lot of HP, as well as some HP recovery once we get the maintenance unit out. I could actually Brutal Censure to take out the villainous weaponry, because that's 2 radiant damage as well as draw a card. And so Absolution would have her regain 1 and then deal damage, but that means it could be destroyed. We do have 2 copies of Absolution in our hand, but if I do put out Absolution, I could use Smite the Transgressor the next turn, and then I could use an additional power on her next turn, assuming Absolution stays out. but in the spirit of holding on to equipment until I'm more comfortable, let's do Brutal Censure, because it will get another card draw at least. So we can take out the Villainous Weaponry. You've now taken out all of the environment cards. We draw a Final Dive, which is excellent. Destroy a target with 4 or fewer HP, other than a character card, and then deal 1 target X projectile damage, where X was the destroyed target's current HP before it was destroyed. So the Automaton Drone and the other one, the Repair Drone, both have 4, so this is a way to destroy them for free, as well as deal 4 projectile damage, which could also serve to take out the other one with 4 if 2 were to come out. But now we can use her power to regain 1 HP and draw a card. So I've been drawing a lot of cards in this game so far. We draw another Divine Focus. On her draw face, we draw as a Holy Nova. Fanatic deals each non-hero target 1 radiant damage. Each hero target regains 1 HP. So it's HP recovery across the board. So now Wraith. It might be time to play Impromptu Invention. So when Omnitron flips, he's only playing 1 card. He has 2 of those technological singularities that would destroy all equipments. And if he were to play them, he'd be hitting each hero or for each equipment that was destroyed, he'll hit that corresponding hero for 2 + 1 damage. So getting 2 equipments out for Wraith, if she were to have all of them get destroyed, would result in a total of, well, 3 damage for each. So Impromptu Invention would put the equipment into play, as well as let us play an additional card. So let's think. So it might be the better option, because I don't know that she's going to use anything else. Suture Self would regain 3. Throat Jab or saving. Grappling Hook, I still want to hold on to. I could use it on the Adaptive Plating subroutine, but I think I'm going to keep that in play and destroy it with Field Freeze at some point. So let's go ahead and Impromptu Invention. We get a Mega Computer that reduces damage dealt by environment cards by 1, and then we can put a card from our deck into play. So I was originally thinking about Razor Ordnance, but Stun Bolt isn't a bad choice because it will reduce damage dealt by things such as, well, the one-shots in particular. Deal each hero target projectile damage, or deal each hero character card lightning damage for each equipment card belonging to that hero destroyed this way. It would reduce it by 1. Which could be useful. It won't help with the drones. It will help with the components, especially if he plays the Interpolation Beam the next turn, because that would hurt 2 energy damage. But the components won't act until the start of his next turn anyway. The only issue is if I play Stun Bolt, then she's not going to be dealing damage. But I guess it's a little better than using Stealth. So at least there's that. Razor Ordnance would deal 2 damage, but then make his damage immunity into projectile, which is fine because the next hero is Haka, who can do melee. I could Infrared Eyepiece. Infrared Eyepiece might actually be even better, because then we can control what Omnitron plays the next turn. That's actually probably a lot better. This also gets her more card draws. So yeah, that's a lot better. I mean, villain deck control is a very powerful thing. So I think we'll do that. I changed my mind like 3 times in the course of this, but we're putting out Infrared Eyepiece. So if I play Mega Computer, this will reduce environment damage by 1. So what are the sources of environment damage? We have Fire in the Biosphere, which deals 2 fire damage to each hero, and then they have to destroy an ongoing card to not take 2 more fire damage. Absolute Zero likes the fire damage, but none of the other heroes would. This doesn't do damage itself. This doesn't do damage itself. This reduces all fire damage by 3, which is bad for Absolute Zero. But it's really easy to destroy this. It does deal damage based on the number of cards in the environment trash, but I don't think we would like that to happen. This doesn't do damage, this doesn't do damage, this doesn't do damage. So the only source of damage is Fire in the Biosphere. And we have 2 copies of that out of 13 cards, so it's actually unlikely to come out. So it's either Mega Computer or Suture Self, and I think Suture Self maybe? I don't normally play this card, but I don't really want to play Mega Computer for Omnitron to destroy it. So I'm just going to Suture Self. We gain 3, and now Wraith is the highest. And now I can reveal the top 2 cards of the villain deck, put one of them on top and one on the bottom, as well as draw a card. And look at that! The card on top of Omnitron's deck was a Technological Singularity. So we successfully avoided this coming out. Because if we had put out the Stun Bolt and used it to reduce the damage by 2, how much damage was going to happen the next turn? It would be 2 to Haka, it would be 4 to Absolute Zero, it would be 4 to Bunker, and it would have been 4 to Wraith. And if we had played Mega Computer, it would have been 6 to Wraith. So I think we'll put the Automating Drone on top. And we draw another Throat Jab. Oh, yeah, right. That was the draw from the Infrared Eyepiece. And we draw another Impromptu Invention, which is great. So now if our equipments do get lost, we can get more set up faster. Environment plays the Self-Destruct sequence. So I was going to talk about this card, and then I decided I would only talk about it if it became relevant, and now it's relevant. When this card comes into play, put the top 2 cards of the environment deck face down next to it. That pile is the countdown pile. If the countdown pile is ever empty, everyone dies, game over. So that's bad. But at the start of their turn, a player may skip the rest of their turn to put the top card of the environment deck onto the countdown pile. So why would you want to do that? Okay, so the next... Sorry, I was trying to figure out where to set it. At the starting environment turn, if the countdown pile contains 7 cards, the sequence has been aborted, and the countdown pile and this card are destroyed. Otherwise, discard the top card of the countdown pile. So it starts with 2 cards that are the top 2 cards of the environment deck. If the countdown pile is ever empty, the game is over. So it's an alternate way of losing the game, other than everyone dying. But at the start of the environment turn, the top card of the countdown pile gets discarded. So we really have 2 rounds before the game's over when this card enters play, unless there aren't enough cards in the environment deck, which is rare. One means of destroying this card, or at least postponing the destruction or the game over, is for a player to skip the rest of their turn. And by doing that, the top card in the environment deck gets put on top of the countdown pile. And then if 7 cards get accumulated, which is equivalent to every hero skipping their next turn, which is useless, this card gets destroyed. But it's an environment card, and environment cards can always be destroyed by cards that say, destroy an environment card, which Wraith has. So we do have a means of destroying this via Wraith. Alright, so Omnitron flips back to his front side. He plays the top card of his deck, which we set to be the Automating Drone, so that's excellent. So he's pulling a drone from his trash, which both of them are the assault drones, so this isn't a surprise. So the first drone is going to hit the highest for 2. So it's actually going to be a little bit better for Haka to take this one. Wraith will reduce the next damage dealt to her by 4, but the second Automating Drone is going to hit her for more than the first, because this one is going to do 1 plus 1 from Omnitron. So let's hit Haka with this one. The next one gets hit by... Wraith gets hit, but Combat Stance reacts. So that's also more useful for that to have happened. And then this card is going to hit the hero talk about the highest HP. If this hits Wraith, Combat Stance will react again. But Wraith doesn't have any other HP recovery, so we might not want that to happen. Absolute Zero doesn't have the Null Point Calibration unit, which is his main means of regaining HP. Haka doesn't have Haka of Restoration, which is his means of regaining HP. But I think Absolute Zero is the better option, even though he usually hits himself a lot, so maybe I shouldn't have done that, but it's too late now. So I think that Wraith is going to be playing Grappling Hook on her turn to destroy the self-destruct sequence. The other hero that has environment destruction is Fanatic, but we don't have that in our hand yet. So, but in any case, we don't have to actually deal with the self-destruct sequence right now. So, so Haka is not going to do anything. Long story short. If I put out Punish the Weak, I could put out Punish the Weak this turn. It's not actually going to do anything if I intend on destroying both of the automaton drones via Taiaha. But, what is Omnitron immune to right now? He's not been dealt damage. I thought he did, or whatever. But if I put out Punish the Weak this turn, then I'll still have Rampage ready for a future turn. And it will hit the heroes for fewer damage. I'm thinking. I don't know what I want Absolute Zero to play just yet. I could put out Coolant Blast. I probably want to save Field Freeze for if he gets more ongoings out, because then I'll do more damage across the board. Maintenance Unit is likely for Bunker, even if I don't intend on using it. Now that I know the bottom card of Omnitron's deck is Technological Singularity, now it's a bit safer to play equipment cards, because there's 18 cards on top of that card, and one of them is a Technological Singularity, and one of them is Sedative Flechettes, and Wraith will at least be able to look at the top 2 cards of Omnitron's deck to decide whether we'll see one or the other, if it so happens. But we'll not see both, ever. Well, we could actually, not now. Actually, via infrared eyepiece, we won't be seeing both. Alright, so I'm still a little unsure. So I think if we hit Absolute Zero and then take the damage on the assault drone, that would do 2 to it, and then Absolution. Oh, we do have Holy Nova. This would hit each non-hero target for 1 Radiant. So it might be a little better to have Taiaha hit the assault drone and Omnitron. And then Absolute Zero hits the automaton drone for 2, and then Haka hits Omnitron for 3, and then Holy Nova hits Omnitron for 1. And all of those are different types of damage. Haka's is melee, Bunker is projectile, Fanatic is radiant, so it will ignore the adaptive plating subroutine. If I play Punish the Weak, then I wouldn't be able to do the full instances of damage, is the only problem. If I do Punish the Weak, I could hit the 3 HP automaton drone, and then I could hit Omnitron, and that'd be 2 and 2. So it'd still be damage. It'll be 1 fewer point of damage, is the main problem. But then Absolute Zero could hit Omnitron, Flat Cannon could hit the assault drone, and then Holy Nova still destroys everything. Still think that's fewer damage overall. But the question is it worth putting Punish the Weak out just to make Rampage deal more damage? I'm indecisive here. I always get really indecisive at some point. So Elbow Smash is actually not something I want to do. Actually, Elbow Smash would be fine. I could hit the Assault Drone with Elbow Smash. No, actually, it still won't be fine. I'm trying to like make it so Holy Nova takes out everything so that damage is being done efficiently. It might be better to just skip a card play. Oh man, I'm so indecisive. Well, Punish the Weak is... Yeah, I don't think I'm going to put Punish the Weak out. I think I'm just going to skip. And now we're going to use Taiaha. We'll hit the Assault Drone. We'll hit Omnitron. Omnitron's now immune to melee. And we draw a Mare to deal 1 target 2 melee damage and draw a card via a power. Alright, we're not skipping the rest of our turn. So... the other problem is I'm not... oh yeah, I think we're going to put out Coolant Blast. So then you have it. And now I'll hit myself for 1 fire. This outputs this 2 cold that we can do on the Automate on drone. So now they're all at 1, so Holy Novas can hit all of them for 1. And we finally have the Null Point Calibration unit. So this is the other module. So we've yet to deal ourselves cold damage, but when Absolute Zero would take cold damage, he regains that many HP instead. Which is great. Not skipping the rest of our turn. So we'll put out the maintenance unit. We'll flat cannon. We'll flat cannon the Omnitron. He's now immune to projectile damage. And now we can either draw a card or regain 2 HP. And if he regains 2 HP, he becomes the highest HP hero, which means that he's a better target for these effects. Actually, he'll be tied after Emboldened, but I think that's still better. Maintenance unit to regain 2. We get another ammo drop. And oh yeah, when Holy Nova destroys all of those drones, Bunker's going to draw 3 cards anyway, so he doesn't need to draw a card with his power. But Fanatic will deal Bunker damage. I will not skip the rest of my turn. So now we'll Holy Nova, and the order here does not matter. Omnitron is now immune to Radiant. The Assault Drone is destroyed, so Ammo Drop lets Bunker draw a card, which is the Adhesive Foam Grenade. This stops the environment cards from playing until the start of Bunker's next turn. Another S84 automate, or sorry, the first automate on drone is destroyed, so Bunker draws a card, which is upgrade mode, and now the second one is destroyed, and Bunker draws another upgrade mode. So I forgot to talk about this one emphasizes card plays. So whereas turret mode lets him use additional power instead of drawing a card or playing a card, and recharge mode let him draw an additional card instead of playing a card or using a power, this one lets him play an additional card during his play phase, but he cannot use powers. So it's like recharge mode in that he can't use powers, so it's not as good when Emboldened is in play, but he can play an additional card, which takes 1 round to truly profit, because then he could play 2 cards on his next round. The first round he plays this, he could still play an additional card, but it would be same as if he did put this into play. It's unlikely I'm going to use it anyway. And now all the heroes regain 1 HP from Holy Nova. We will use Redeem to regain 1 HP and draw a card. That card is another Holy Nova, and on her card draw, she draws an End of Days. This is a cool card. At the start of the environment turn, destroy all cards in play other than this card, character cards, and relics, and then destroy this card. So this does cost the heroes greatly, because you'll lose whatever setup you have, with the sole exception of relics, of which Fanatic has a few, Absolution and the Aegis of Resurrection, which you can see on the screen. But it will destroy every villain thing in play, at least in this game. Some villains have relics, and those can't be destroyed, and some environments have relics, which can't get destroyed, which this environment doesn't. So really, this will wipe the environment as well as Omnitron's board. We will not skip the rest of our turn. So we are definitely going to be grappling hooking at some point. Now that I can at least control, to an extent, when the technological singularity will come out, I'm a little more willing to play equipments. Now, Omnitron, when he flips, is going to play 2 cards, and an infrared eyepiece will only let us control his next card play, but it won't let us control the card play after that, so there's still a chance we'll see the technological singularity anyway. But I think we'll go ahead and put the impromptu invention out first, since, as I said, this card is a cycle, so I can play this card and still play another card after I play this card, and get the extra effects from this card. So we get a Razor Ordnance, which lets the Wraith deal 1 target 3 projectile damage as a power. And now we have a choice of what card do we want from our deck, and the reason that I played this was mostly for Utility Belt. This lets her use an additional power during her power phase. So we could use Infrared Eyepiece and then Stealth, if this gets put into play. Or I could put out Razor Ordnance, which is probably a bit better, and then hit Omnitron, because we don't have to worry about self-destruct sequence right now. The only reason we probably would want to worry about self-destruct sequence is if Omnitron plays Terraforming, which is a concern actually. Terraforming says destroy all environment cards and then play as many villain cards as environment cards destroyed by this card. So with self-destruct sequence out, the 2 cards underneath self-destruct sequence, which, fun fact, are Fire in the Biosphere and Oxygen Leak, do count as environment cards in play. So if he plays Terraforming, he would destroy self-destruct sequence, which you should select first, as well as whatever cards underneath self-destruct sequence, as well as whatever card the environment plays. And then he'll play that many cards, which could be a bunch of nasty things. So the question is, do I want to destroy the self-destruct sequence this turn, or do I want to put Razor Ordnance out and deal more damage while we're still on the non-damage resistance side? And I think I'm going to take that gamble. So we're going to put the utility belt into play in any case. And now I'm going to play the Razor Ordnance. And now let's see what's happening on the villain deck first. We have the S-85 Repair Drone and Electro Pulse Explosive. So the Repair Drone will have Omnitron regain HP, but the Electro Pulse Explosive will force us to focus on it until it gets destroyed. We do have 2 throat jabs now, so we would be able to just say you can't deal damage. But I think I would prefer the Repair Drone, even though it will slightly prolong the game because Omnitron will regain HP, but at least we wouldn't be focusing on the Electro Pulse Explosive. So it's important. Oh, and we draw a Razor Ordnance via infrared eyepiece. It's important to remember the order of the bottom of the environment deck, because the first time we used infrared eyepiece, we put the Technological Singularity on the bottom, and now we put an Electro Pulse Explosive on the bottom. So now there are 17 other cards in Omnitron's deck, well, 16 cards that are not accounted for. We know the top card is an S-85 Repair Drone. So there are 16 cards in between those, and we don't know what those are. But more importantly, we should try to keep track of what's on the bottom, since what's on top is going to come into play right away anyway. So on the very bottom is the Electro Pulse Explosive, and the card above that is the Technological Singularity. And we'll go ahead and hit Omnitron. He'll be immune to projectile, and we'll draw a combat stance. So we have a bunch of cards in our hand that are duplicates of what's in play. And an Oxygen Leak comes out. Reduce all fire damage by 3. That's bad for Absolute Zero. At the start of the environment turn, one player may discard 1 card to destroy this card, so it's really easy to destroy, but if we keep it in play, this will deal each target X toxic damage, where X is the number of cards in the environment trash at the start of the next environment turn. So if we destroy the self-destruct sequence, next turn, this will do 5 toxic damage to everything. That's not really good. It's good for wiping the villain side, bad for hurting all the heroes. So one hero is probably going to discard a card. And a lot of these heroes have a lot of cards. Like, Bunker has a lot of cards. And Fanatic has drawn so many cards. But Fanatic probably wants to hold on to cards for 2 reasons. One being Divine Focus, so she could discard cards to hit the villain target with the highest for more Radiance. And the other is for Wrathful Retribution, which requires 3 cards in addition to this card in order to deal the damage. Bunker is going to keep drawing cards via Ammo Drop, and he's unlikely to play those upgrade modes, or even recharge mode. But upgrade mode we have 2 of, so it's a bit easier to put into the trash. A nice little trick with Bunker is that you could discard an equipment and then still put it into play via decommissioned hardware, but I want to save decommissioned hardware in case his equipments get destroyed. So we'll have Bunker discard in upgrade mode. So Oxygen Leak is destroyed. Now remember, we have to destroy a self-destruct sequence this turn, if Omnitron doesn't destroy it with his next turn. So he flipped, he's going to play 2 cards. The first is the S-85 Repair Drone, and then the second is the Disintegration Ray. So it's the first component we've seen. These act at the start of the villain turn, and this one says Omnitron will deal 6 energy damage to the hero target with the highest HP. These get destroyed if Omnitron is dealt 7 or more damage in 1 round, since this card entered play. So we don't have to destroy it via ongoing destruction. We could destroy it by hitting Omnitron for a lot. and then Omnitron regains 2. So Omnitron didn't actually deal damage this turn. Do we want to skip the rest of our turn? I think we're going to be playing Grappling Hook, especially since all of these cards are now redundant. Well, Mega Computer is not redundant, and Throat Jab is not redundant, but I still want to keep that. So yeah, so with Grappling Hook, I don't need to worry about the self-destruct sequence. So remember, we do have damage resistance on this side. Omnitron's taking 1 fewer damage, but he's currently immune to projectiles. So if I intend on hitting Omnitron with Flat Cannon, I do need to hit him for either cold or melee before then. If I put out Punish the Weak, we'll hit the Repair Drone for more, but we'll hit Omnitron for less. It's again that issue with Punish the Weak. It will do the same amount of damage overall, though. And the reason I've been focusing on taking out the drones, besides the fact that that they do things on their own, is the fact that when Omnitron is destroyed, the heroes can't actually win until there are no devices in play. So the game continues even when Omnitron is destroyed. Now it's a bit easier because he won't be playing an additional card or recycling cards from his trash, since there won't be an Omnitron proper, but we do need to destroy the devices, so I've been taking them out as we go. So I might play Punish the Weak, though, in setup for the next turn. Because there won't be damage resistance on the next turn. So I could play Rampage next turn a bit more easily. Yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and do that at this point. I've talked about it for long enough, I might as well do it. We use Taiaha, so the Punish the Weak bonus is going to cancel the Omnitron reduction. So this will hit the Repair Drone for slightly more, but we'll hit Omnitron for a bit less because now the Punish the Weak reduction is working against us. But that's fine because now Omnitron is immune to melee damage. And we get a Dominion, so whenever an environment card is destroyed, Haka may draw a card. So this is sort of Haka's equivalent of ammo drop, except it's for environment cards instead of villain cards. So if I play Field Freeze and destroy both of the ongoings, Omnitron will lose the damage immunity. How many copies of Adaptive Plating subroutine does he have? He has 1 more. So that would be an issue coming up. It would destroy Disintegration Rate, and it would also let us destroy another ongoing if we so want to, because the card that says destroy up to 3 ongoing cards doesn't discriminate against villains or heroes, so I could use it to destroy hero ongoing cards, especially if there are bad ones, like, I don't know, Punish the Weak. Not really that that's bad, but that's just an example. If I put out the Null Point Calibration unit, I could heal instead of dealing damage, or I could hit the Repair Drone for 1 with Isothermic Transducer, but then we'd still have to deal with the Disintegration Ray. So I'm pretty sure we're going to get Absolution out this turn, by the way. I've also been holding on to those for long enough, we might as well put them into play. So we get a damage dealing power, so that would do 2 damage, and Flat Cannon is going to do 2 damage. And we still have to figure out what card he's going to play. Probably Adhesive Foam Grenade. So that's 2, and then Fanatic is 2. We've already done 1 from Haka, and then Razor Ordnance will do 2. So we don't actually have to destroy the Disintegration Ray via Field Freeze. So I could put out the Null Point and be better set up in the future. So yeah, I'm going to do that. But I'm going to take out the Repair Drone. So I put out the Null Point, but I'm not going to use it. I'm going to take out the Repair Drone. And this lets Bunker draw a card, which is an auxiliary power source. So this is a cool card. At the start of your turn, you may destroy this card. If you do, you may use an additional power this turn. But this also provides a power to draw 3 cards. And then this card gets destroyed. So you could use this to either draw a lot of cards this turn, or you could play this to use more powers the next turn, or a future turn. Not even the next turn, but a future turn. And we get a modular realignment for Absolute Zero. We're not skipping the rest of our turn. So auxiliary power source is fun, but I think adhesive foam grenade is better because this stops the environment from playing cards, period. Not that all environment cards are bad for us, but it will at least postpone bad things from happening. It'll also postpone good things from happening, but we'll stop the environment from doing things for now. We'll hit Omnitron for another 2. And then we will regain 2 HP. We will draw an Omni Cannon. This is an excellent card. At the start of your turn, you may put up to 3 cards from your hand beneath this card. The power is to destroy all cards beneath this card. Bunker deals 1 target damage equal to 2 times the number of cards destroyed. And yes, we'll keep Absolution or Embolden in play. Note that Bunker is actually gaining HP despite Embolden being in play. We are not skipping the rest of our turn. We're putting out Absolution. She regains 1 HP by that, and then we'll select Radiant. The answer is always Radiant. To hit Omnitron for Radiant. Omnitron is now immune to Radiant. And we draw a Consecrated Ground, so this is another means of destroying ongoings or environments. This comes with the extra effect of Fanatic deals up to 3 targets 1 Radiant damage each. Alright, we've been going for 75 minutes, and he's not even at 80 HP, so let's try to be a little bit speedier, but not too reckless. We're not skipping the rest of our turn, because we're going to use Grappling Hook to destroy the self-destruct sequence. I could say, alright, this game has been going on long enough, I'm going to destroy Oxygen Leak, which is a card beneath the self-destruct sequence, and subsequently the countdown pile will be down to 0 cards, and the game will end immediately. But no, we'll destroy the self-destruct sequence itself. So now that's happened. Oh yeah, and the Grappling Hook says to draw another card. We draw a Micro-Targeting Computer. Increase projectile damage dealt by the Wraith by 2. An excellent card. Most of her damage is projectile. So infrared eyepiece first. We have another technological singularity. Now both of them have been accounted for. I could put it into play anyway, but I think we'll do the assault drone. So now all of the equipment destruction in Omnitron's deck has been accounted for. We draw the Stun Bolt to deal 1 target, 1 projectile damage, and until the start of your next turn, reduce all damage dealt by that target by 1. And now we know entirely what Omnitron's going to do. In fact, we know what the environment and Omnitron will do. Environment's not going to do anything because of Adhesive Foam Grenade, and Omnitron's going to play the last Assault Drone, which will hit the hero with the highest HP for 2 melee plus 1 from the flip side. And that hero will be Bunker, so will be reduced by 1 from Heavy Plating. But I can go ahead and hit Omnitron for Projectile. So he becomes immune to Projectile, and then Disintegration Ray gets destroyed. That destruction lets Bunker draw a card, which is another ammo drop. And we get a Suture Self. So again, Wagner Bar Space skips its next turn. Omnitron plays the Assault Drone. In fact, I lied because we don't know what Omnitron's going to do next because he's recycling from his trash. I forgot about that. So he gets the repair. The repair drone comes back out rather, and now Omnitron gains more because there were more drones in play. But now with Punish the Weak, I can destroy both of the drones via Taiaha. So I don't need to use Rampage. And if I use Elbow Smash, I could take out one of the drones, and then the Taiaha could destroy the second drone as well as hit Omnitron. I could put out Mare, because equipments are now entirely safe. The bottom of Omnitron's deck, by the way, we know the bottom 3 cards of Omnitron's deck in order. The bottom card is the Technological Singularity, the card above that is an Electropulse Explosive, and the card above that is the second Technological Singularity. So the only other source of card destruction in Omnitron's deck is Sedative Flechettes, which is somewhere in the top 13 cards of Omnitron's deck. So ongoings are still a little bit more dangerous, but equipments are now almost entirely safe. We should be able to not have to worry about... Well, equipments aren't actually entirely safe because they could be destroyed by Pervasive Red Dust, which there are 2 of them in the environment deck. But I could put out Dominion, so I could draw more cards in the future. Adaptive Plating Subroutine is still out, so he's currently immune to Projectile. So Omnitron should be hit by something from either Haka or Absolute Zero so that Bunker can hit him. And Field Freeze I would rather use if there's another ongoing in play, which probably will happen next turn. See, the thing I'm just trying to think about is whether I'm going to hit Omnitron with Absolute Zero. If not, I should use Elbow Smash. If I am, then I should not use Elbow Smash. If I put out Cryo Chamber, Absolute Zero is not going to be able to use his base power to hit himself for fire. But that's the only other option that he could play this turn other than Modular Realignment, which is not really that bad because he'll hit himself for fire and cold despite the fact that there's no equipment cards in this trash, but I would rather save that just because. Yeah, I think I'll just Elbow Smash. So we'll take out, yes, on the repair drone is considered lowest, so it gets the +1. Ammo drop lets Bunker draw a card, which is another Adhesive Foam Grenade. Taiaha hit the assault drone. This is another villain card destroyed, so Bunker draws another card, which is decommissioned hardware, and then we can hit Omnitron. 84 is the lowest amount of damage, or is the lowest HP non-hero target, so he gets +1. And we draw another Punish the Weak. So actually I could destroy Punish the Weak safely, because we have 2 of them still in Haka's hand. But I think I'll put out Cryo Chamber, and then I can use my base power to regain 3 HP rather, because of Focused Apertures. This will let Absolute Zero tank a bit more. It will make it a little bit harder for him to hit things, but I think that's fine. I could also use Cryo Chamber. I could actually use Cryo Chamber to have Absolute Zero hit himself for 5 -1 for 4 fire damage that gets transmuted to 5 cold, which is a lot. But I think it's time for Absolute Zero to regain some HP. Just because 15 is too low. A lot of people would say 15 is not high enough, or is not low enough. But we draw a Frostbound Drain, which is great for next turn. Absolute Zero deals 1 non-hero target 3 cold damage. Absolute Zero deals himself 3 fire damage. Alright, so the environment can now play cards. And Haka's drawn, or Bunker's drawn a lot of cards. So I could Adhesive Foam Grenade to stop Wagner Mars base from doing things again, but I think it's about, now that I have the Omni Cannon and I want to put it out, especially since the equipments are pretty safe. The only cards that can destroy equipments are in the environment deck, but we have a lot of equipments in play and it will only destroy 5 equipments, so that's fine. There are a lot of options for equipments to destroy. But we can put out Omni Cannon because now that we have a plethora of cards, we'll be able to put a plethora of cards underneath Omni Cannon. So we'll put out Omni Cannon, and then we can Flak Cannon Omnitron for a full 3. Omnitron's immune to projectile. And we can, again, use maintenance units to regain 2 HP. And we draw an External Combustion. Bunker deals himself 2 fire damage and deals each non-hero target 3 fire damage, so it's great burst damage. We'll keep Embolden in play. Equipments are safe, so I could put out the Aegis of Resurrection, but Fanatic's not really in danger right now. I forgot about Final Dive. I could have used Final Dive at some point. Oh well. Holy Nova will regain everyone 1. I've yet to see the Zealous Offense. This is a great card because at the start of her turn she can select 2 targets that are not character cards, and those targets then can't deal damage until the start of her next turn. This is a really great card because this is like, you can freely select 2 cards to not deal damage. Few issues with this is that when this card enters play, it doesn't act immediately, and furthermore, Fanatic actually has to deal at least 3 damage on her turn in order to keep this card in play. So when this card enters play, like I can play it right now, and I can deal 3 damage to Omnitron, which will keep it in play, and that might actually be the best thing to do, because then I could select whatever targets come into play from Omnitron's turn on the start of Fanatic's next turn, then they can't deal damage. It sucks if there aren't any such cards, because then nothing actually happens from it. And that might be a bit better than the Aegis of Resurrection. Oh, sorry. I was thinking I was going to play it, but I don't. The point was I don't have it yet. Oh man, I don't have it yet. I do have Divine Focus, but it's not so useful when the Adaptive Plating subroutine is out, because he'll constantly become immune to radiant damage. Divine Sacrifice will redirect all damage to Fanatic. I don't think that's quite useful. Final Dive's not going to do anything. Holy Nova will hit Omnitron for 1, and then everyone will regain 1. Smite the Transgressor will let her use an additional power. Or the Aegis of Resurrection. I don't think she's going to die anytime soon. In fact, it's better to play that when she's about to die, so that it doesn't get destroyed prematurely. Although the only source of equipment destruction is in the deck, but I think... Smite the Transgressor. This will do 2 melee. Omnitron's not immune to melee, so this will go through, and then we can use Absolution as well as a Redeem. So Smite the Transgressor, hit Omnitron, immune to melee, can use another power. We'll use Absolution to deal Radiant, and now he's immune to Radiant. We'll use Redeem, regain 1 HP, and draw a card. We get another Divine Sacrifice, and now our card draw is another End of Days. So we really didn't get another option there, but we did get more cards for Divine Focus fodder. So if I put out Micro-Targeting Computer, I'll do more damage to Omnitron this turn. If I put out Stun Bolt, Omnitron will do less damage if he deals damage. It's unlikely he will. The only source of damage dealing is Sedative Flechettes, and that's going to do a lot of damage. It will also destroy all of our ongoings. I could play Throat Jab, and then he can't deal damage. He's not immune to melee, he's immune to Radiant. The one thing I can't do is double up on Razor Ordnance and Stun Bolt without losing out on damage. I think, especially since equipments are safe, I'll put out Micro-Targeting Computer. Now, the top 2 cards of Omnitron's deck. So, an Automaton Drone and an Interpolation Beam. So, I'm actually likely to put this on top, the Interpolation Beam, because then I can destroy it with Field Freeze. The only issue is then that Haka wouldn't really want to draw cards. He could draw 1 card, though. I think that, yeah, it's only 1 damage to him. The drone will deal 5 damage to the highest HP, which is either Haka or Wraith, fun fact. So that would still be better damage to Haka. And that's the last Automaton drone in his deck, so once we put that on the bottom, we're not going to see any other damage-dealing targets for a while. So I think, yeah, the Interpolation Beam on top. And we draw Throwing Knives. So now we know the bottom 4 cards of Omnitron's deck. So, haha, do you remember what they are? It's important. The bottom-most one is the Automaton Drone. The card above that is one of the Technological Singularities. The card above that is an Electropulse Explosive, and the card above that is the Technological Singularity. Topmost card is the Interpolation Beam. There are 11 other cards unaccounted for. We can now hit Omnitron for 5. And now Omnitron's immune to projectile. And we draw Razor Ordnance. Alright, so Meteor Storm comes out. Cool. All targets are immune to damage. So even if Omnitron plays Sedative Flechettes and all our ongoings get destroyed, we're not actually going to be dealt damage. But we can have a player skip their turn to destroy this card. So let's see what happens. He flips. He puts the Interpolation Beam that we put on top of his deck into play. He plays another card from the top of his deck, which is another component. At the start of the villain turn, Omnitron deals the 2 hero targets with the highest HP 4 projectile damage each, and this card is destroyed when Omnitron is dealt 7 or more damage in 1 round. So he's not doing anything. But we also can't do anything while this card is in play. So this is actually a good way of getting set up. Leave this card in play and get set up, and the villain can't hurt us. On the other hand, we're already really well set up, and so we probably don't want to leave this in play, especially if Omnitron destroys ongoings, which we know he's not doing the next round. So we don't need to worry about this at all. And Haka lacks environment destruction, so I think, as unfortunate as it is, since Haka's main purpose is to deal damage anyway, we're going to have Haka skip the rest of his turn to destroy this card. So Haka just skipped a step to deal with the Meteor Storm. Was Haka even? No, that was Legacy on the card, never mind. But hey, I can Field Freeze and destroy 3 ongoings and hit Omnitron for a lot of damage. So we can finally get rid of that Adaptive Plating subroutine. This lets Bunker draw a card. Oh, well, it doesn't really matter the order. But order did matter, actually, because Ammo Drop says he may draw a card when a villain card is destroyed. I should have selected the Interpolation Beam first, but it honestly doesn't matter because he's reducing damage by 1, and Omnitron's not on his damage increase side. So yes, he will draw a card. He draws a grenade launcher, and then Omnitron tries to hit him and fails. So now let's take out the Interpolation Beam so we don't have to be asked that question each time. We draw an Auxiliary Power Source, and then we'll destroy the 3rd ongoing, which lets Bunker draw another Auxiliary Power Source. And now we can hit Omnitron for 3 cold. Absolute Zero has not been dealt fire damage since his last turn. I could hit myself with 4 fire to hit Omnitron for 4 cold, but I think I'm just going to keep healing. We'll destroy the Cryo Chamber, like, when we think we can win. We draw a null point. Alright, I do want to move up to 3 cards. And equipments are safe to put under here, because they're not going to be destroyed for a while. So we'll put... Actually, no, we'll put Recharge Mode. We're definitely not going to use Recharge Mode. And I think we're not going to use Upgrade Mode either. And Grenade Launcher... Well, either Grenade Launcher or Flak Cannon, but I think... Or Heavy Plating. Yeah, we'll put Heavy Plating under it. Alright. And now we have a lot of options here. We still don't have any equipments in our trash, because we've not destroyed any, and we have not discarded any either. I could put out Grenade Launcher, and then I could Omnitron for more, but it's actually going to be reduced by 1 because of his front side. So I think it's a good opportunity to play Adhesive Foam Grenade. We've yet to see any terraformings. There are 11 cards between the top card, or, sorry, 10 cards at this point. We know the bottom 4 cards. There are 2 terraformings somewhere in the top 10. We would like Omnitron to play a terraforming on his front side, because... Or sorry, if there are no environment cards in play, we would like him to play terraforming. So let's try to do that, because it's likely that he's going to play terraforming. So we'll stop the environment from playing cards. Now we have 2 powers, so I could use Omnicannon. In fact, like, it's nice to build up Omnicannon. Actually, no, I don't want to use Omnicannon because he's on his front side. That's right. It's nice to build up Omnicannon, but it's actually a little bit better to use Omnicannon each turn that you can. And here's why. Unless there's damage reduction. If there's damage increase, you definitely want to use Omnicannon at every opportunity. Because you would like to optimize all the damage increase opportunities. If there's damage resistance, you definitely want to hoard it, and if there's nothing, then it's equal either way. So I'm going to save the Omnicannon since he is on the damage resistance side, but we'll go ahead and hit Omnicannon for the projectile, and then we'll keep regaining HP. I don't need to draw cards because Ammo Drop's been funding me a lot in this game. We draw another Omnicannon. We'll keep Embolden in play. It's been serving us very well this game. I'm so happy about that. Alright, and now we're here. This is actually a good time to play Divine Focus, because we do have a lot of cards here. We are never going to get a damage increase, since we lack the heroes that provide damage increase, so Divine Focus is going to have to be played at some point. So I think we'll play it. We won't necessarily use it until Omnitron flips, but when he does, we'll be able to hit him for 2 damage each turn, in addition to everything else. So we'll put that out. And then we'll hit him with Radiance. And we draw a Consecrated Ground. So now at the start of every turn I may discard a card. This will hit Omnitron for 1 Radiance. So I don't know that's useful. I do have so many cards though, but I think we'll just skip. Alright. So I don't need to Throat Jab. Throwing Knives is not going to do more. So the environment's not playing cards. I think I'm gonna put out Stun Bolt, because equipments are very safe right now. And now we'll reveal the top 2 cards of Omnitron's deck. There's the other sedative flechettes! We found it! So now we don't have to worry about ongoings at all. Put the S-85 repair drone on top. And now we know the bottom 5 cards of Omnitron's deck. We get a Trust Fund, which is good for cycling through Wraith's deck, but we've been drawing a lot of cards through infrared eyepiece. A lot of these heroes have been drawing a lot of cards. This game is ridiculous. But we now know the bottom 5 cards of Omnitron's deck. Say this with me, if you can remember. The bottom-most card is Sedative Flechettes. The card above that is a Technological Singularity. The card above that... No, sorry, I lied. Sedative Flechettes, then the S-84 repair drone, or automaton drone, then a technological singularity, then an electropulse explosive, then another technological singularity. Those are the bottom 5 cards of Omnitron's deck. And the card he's going to play is the repair drone, and he's going to pull something from his trash. But let's go ahead. I don't need to worry about him dealing damage because he's not doing Sedative Flechettes, so we'll go ahead and Razor Ordnance him. And we get an inventory barrage. So sadly we did not get... We still have not found terraforming. So this adhesive foam grenade did not enable us to force Omnitron to skip a card play. He has successfully flipped, so now I could discard a card. Let's discard an Absolution since it's not going to get destroyed. S-85 repair drone comes out. Omnitron is self-aware and plays the S-84 automaton drone. So this is going to hit someone. If it hits Wraith, then the combat stance will react. If it hits Bunker, it will be reduced by 1. If it hits Haka, nothing will happen. I think in the interest of doing things, we're pretty safe, so I'm going to hit Wraith so combat stance reacts. Discard a card. So... I'm unlikely to play End of Days. It's a cool card, but I'm unlikely to play it. And this is actually a fine opportunity to play Rampage, because it will destroy the drones, it will hit Omnitron for 6 if I order it right, and then it will hit the heroes. Wraith will hit Haka, but it will do a lot of damage to Omnitron. So let's do it. Now is the time to Rampage. Hit the automaton drone, ammo droplets, bunker, draw a card, which is a recharge mode. Hit the repair drone, ammo droplets, bunker, draw a card, which is an upgrade mode, and then we'll hit Omnitron for 6. Now the order here doesn't actually matter, so just hit everyone. Bunker's not going to take any damage, thanks to the combination of damage reductions, and now Wraith was dealt damage, so she reacts. On the tabletop, I think people forget that combat stance doesn't discriminate between heroes and villains. But now I can use Taiha to hit Omnitron for a further 4. I don't need to do the second hit, so I won't. And we draw a Vitality Surge. Discard a card. I'm still not going to play End of Days, so we'll hit Omnitron for another 2. I think the best card here is Frostbound Drain. This hits Omnitron for 4. Hits 0 for him for 2. This will hit Omnitron for 3. And he has been dealt 2 fire damage since his last turn, so he could do Coolant Blast to hit Omnitron for 3. I could also destroy Cryo Chamber to hit himself for 4 to hit Omnitron for 5, which is more damage overall, so I'm going to do that. So Isothermic Transducer reacts, he hits Omnitron for 5, and our first equipment has been destroyed all game long. This is ridiculous. Null Point comes out. Environment now can play cards. I will move up to 3 cards. I'm going to put the ammo drops, because now ongoings are safe. And I'm going to put the recharge mode, because I'm still not going to use that. Fanatic can discard a card. Let's see. Final Dive. Hits Omnitron for 2. Alright, so if I put out turret mode, this is going to increase Flat Cannon and Omni Cannon's damage by 1. So it will do 4 and 13 for a total of 17 damage. On the other hand, if I do external combustion, this will do 3 damage. Flat cannon will do 3. Omnicannon will do 12. That'll be 18 damage. So that's more damage overall. So we'll externally combust. It only hits us for 1, but it hits Omnitron for 3. And then we can flat cannon to hit Omnitron for 3. And then we can Omnicannon, and we'll be destroying a lot of these cards. The order does not matter. It could matter, but it doesn't in this case. We'll hit Omnitron for 12. We draw a Gatling gun. This actually doesn't matter. We're going to win, but I'm going to do this. I can discard a card to hit Omnitron. So I am going to discard a Divine Sacrifice. This hits Omnitron for 2. And I don't have to do this, but I will. And now, let's see, the best source of damage. That's 1. That's 1. And that's 1. So I think I'm going to Holy Nova, since it will at least restore more HP. Though it doesn't really matter, but I mean, like, it partly gives us back the cost of Divine Focus. We'll Absolve Omnitron for 3. And then we will draw a card that doesn't matter. We'll discard a card which doesn't matter. It's Omnitron for 3. And this also doesn't matter, but since it's cool to do this, we'll Inventory Barrage to destroy these equipments that we've built up over the course of the game. And we didn't have to do this at all, but it's cool because now we've thrown all of our weapons at Omnitron, destroying Omnitron, and we've won the game. So it took a while. It looked like it was getting rather slow since we were like 75 minutes in and we had only gotten Omnitron down to 80. But that last round, we took advantage of everything in our arsenal to hit Omnitron for a lot. So, successful game. Long game. I think this was the longest video I have recorded for this. And it was a safe game, too. Once we got the infrared eyepiece out, we managed to make sure that Omnitron never did anything that could disrupt our efforts. And thanks to the adhesive foam grenades, we also never saw the pervasive red dust, which was the only other source of equipment destruction. But even if a pervasive red dust had been played towards the end, we had so many equipments in play that we certainly could have sacrificed some for that cause. I certainly could have played this better. I could have had Absolute Zero take more damage. I could have not played Cryo Chamber, or if I had played Cryo Chamber, use it right away to deal a lot of damage. Because we were never in a situation where we were bad on damage, or bad on HP. I think that... what was the card that we played on Bunker? I cannot remember the name. Embolden. We played Embolden on Bunker on the first turn of the game, and it lasted the entire game, and Bunker used 2 powers the entire game. A lot of that was to deal 3 damage and regain 2 HP, so Bunker would profit 1 HP each turn. I'm not sure there was, at least within Bunker, if we were under the assumption that we played on Bunker, I'm not sure there was a better option for Bunker there, because we didn't play the Omnicannon until we had it, and we didn't get the grenade launcher until late, and his base power of drawing a card was pretty silly, considering that ammo drop kept acting and Bunker kept drawing a ridiculous number of cards. I don't think any other hero would have really benefited from that, other than, well, if Haka had it, he would have taken more damage throughout the game, because he never drew the Talmoko, but he also would have taken 2 damage over several turns, because he wouldn't have had the damage resistance. But it would have enabled him to do 2 melee damage in addition to the 3 and 3 each turn. I'm not sure that would have been better, though. Wraith could have had extra power uses, but we also used combat stance throughout the game, and if we had kept combat stancing Fanatic would have been lower. And Fanatic is fine at low HP, but we also never drew the Wrathful Retribution. And Absolute Zero never really had multiple powers to work with. He had I lied. We had Coolant Blast, and we could have doubled up on his base power hitting himself for fire as well as Coolant Blast to effectively double on that damage. But then Absolute Zero would have taken more damage from Fanatic in addition to the damage he deals himself. So he would have had to heal at some point, and the turn that he heals would have been a turn that he would take no fire damage. Unless we had played, like, the modular realignment. So in terms of Embolden, I'm not sure there's a better option. It was really nice to have it on Bunker, and Bunker was actually really useful throughout that entire game for once. So I'm pretty happy with that. Alright, I've been going for nearly 1 hour and 45 minutes, so I'm going to go ahead and say that was a good fight, fun fight, another mint, and I might as well just go and show this off if you've not seen it in the previous ones. Our mint streak is now at 10. Our last near mint was the advanced When It Rains, When It Rains, which was advanced Grand Warlord Voss, and we still only have 4 near mints, and everything else is a mint. So that is a total of 2, 5, 9, 13, 16, 19, 23, 27 mints, and 4 near mints. That is a total of 31 covers. The reason that that's not 30, even though this is weekly one-shot number 30, is because the Wrath of the Thorathian had a blooper. It was a misprint. So yeah, there's our mint. So thank you for watching if you endured all 1 hour and 45 minutes. Hopefully that was at least entertaining, or at least insightful as to how to win the game. I might try to come up with the fastest possible victory for this setup. But it's unlikely it would be fast in any case because of all of the setup required to really get going, but who knows. In any case, have a good night, and thank you for watching.